And welcome to From the Ground Up Sunday at 12 p.m. edition. Here you go, random middle of the day episode for you guys. And you know what that usually means when we have a middle of the day episode on a weekend, right?
Yes. If you have been watching our podcast for a while or listening, you know that when we have a Sunday episode, it means it is someone in a different country because that is the only way we can make the time work.
Because I would feel bad if people were doing this at 2 a.m.
Yes, we would never want to make someone do that. So today we have someone from the Netherlands. Yes. And do you want to?
And well, I want to do the actual intro. I didn't mean to go into the actual intro. Sorry, I led you there.
Yeah, you
We have some snakes available, portcitypythons.com. And if you guys want to know about corn snakes that we may be taking to Tinley or animals that we may have at Tinley, anything else about Tinley, or if you just want to say, hey, at Tinley, we're going.
Well, I feel like we should say like Tinley obviously is this weekend. The NARBC Tinley in Illinois will be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Come check us out. But obviously there's many other breeders there, and there's lots of talks and educational aspects to Tinley going on also.
Including the Friday Gecko Symposium. So this is a symposium with a few different speakers and food and drinks, I believe, as well. So that's always a plus. And it is that Friday night after Tinley. Is it 7 to 10 or something? It's decently late. Yeah. So you guys can go to dinner and then go to the Gecko Symposium and check out all of our gecko friends.
If you like things with legs.
Yeah, I knew you were going to mention something like that.
Of course. Okay, now you ready to introduce our guest?
Yes, but I feel like I lost the last name. You're going to help me on it?
Oh, I'm going to try. So our guest, like I said earlier, is from the Netherlands, and his name is Gert Jan Verspui. Oh, I don't feel like I did it well.
Well, here he is. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from the Netherlands.
Oh, thank you for having me from all the way from here. So,
yeah, and so if people don't know, you are a world herper. I mean, you have herped a large amount of Europe, the Middle East, as well as the Americas, as well as Africa. So tell us a little bit of how you got first interested in herps in general.
I think that's going to be a story like everyone who herps has the same story. It's like when you're young, you see something moving and you just grab it. For me, it was always frogs and salamanders close to my home. And because there is not much else here, and we only have 3 snakes in the Netherlands, so it took me like a lot of years before I finally saw one. But I was always catching the little amphibians. And when we went on summer holidays with my parents, most of the time we went to France, and then there were lizards, and sometimes I saw a dead snake on the road. And yeah, when I was still a kid, I was just searching. I never found them when I was young, but that came later. But it's always been there, but it was not called herping back then in my family.
Well, did it have a name?
Sorry?
Was there a name for it, or was it just looking?
No, it was. He just likes lizards and snakes and frogs a lot. Yeah, I think that's it. And he's always into nature. That's what they always said about me. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that a lot of us started off in just like being wandering little kids. And I don't know if there's not a name to it or it's not normalized in your family. I don't think your parents are they may not be not supportive of it, but they're like, oh, he's kind of weird. He just goes out and plays with snakes.
Some parents might be supportive of it.
My parents were supportive. It was really small back then, so it's just a boy who catches lizards and takes salamanders home and keeps them in his room, and they all escape and that kind of stuff. But yeah, it was innocent and pretty normal, I think, for my parents.
So
but now they have another opinion, actually.
I want to get to that later.
So even when the lizards and salamanders would escape, they would still allow you to continue catching them?
Yeah, they were all pretty harmless species. So yeah, why not? I think when I was around 10, we found the green lizards from Europe, which is Lacetta bilineata, and we found a couple. We took them home, and I fed them for a year, and then the year after we went back to France and we released them again. So yeah.
Did that
So-
kind of lead into any other private keeping?
I did own a lot of snakes when I was around 16 to 20, and but I don't keep any reptiles or amphibians anymore. I just like to look for them and admire them in the wild, and that's it. Of course, when I see, like many, I am a big fan of vipers, and when I see one, I always think like, oh, maybe it would be nice in the living room, or but I just never do it. So it's not gonna happen. I just keep them where they are.
What did you keep back when you were a teenager?
Oh, just very the normal stuff. So not venomous, because that was not allowed by my parents. And I think like the Pantherophis guttata, the corn snake, boas. Let me see. Garter snakes, all the things that show up in the pet stores. I had them at home, and I changed a lot, and I influenced some of my friends with it, and they also start keeping snakes. And yeah, and one time I had like the big green red-tailed tree snakes from Asia, like the Goniosoma oxycephala. They were like bad-tempered big snakes, and I think that's probably the last snakes I had. But I had many more than that. But to know which one they all were,
I think it's funny that in the United States we're very used to obviously things like corn snakes or boas and garter snakes, and I thought that was kind of just a product of us being in the United States or on this side of the world for the boas and stuff like that. But it seems like the commonly kept species may also carry on to your pet trade over there.
Yeah, I think around that time, when I was around 16, it was when lots of those, the pretty the normal species, they came like with big numbers to Europe. So they were even in the most normal pet stores, they had like a corn snake or obsoleta, or just some others. Just easy to get by snakes, and most of the time from the States.
Right. Now, as you reached adulthood and got freedom to kind of travel around, I mean, what was one of your first big herping trips?
Oh, my big herping trips. Now, for me, one of my biggest things was seeing my first viper in the Netherlands, which took me actually pretty a long time. I've found several when I was on holiday, and they were flat on the road, and there's nothing more frustrating than never seeing an animal alive and just seeing it dead on the road. But that's what you are used to actually a lot in the States, I guess. And it took me a while before I found one, because they do live in the Netherlands, but they only in very isolated places. And back then I didn't have any internet or stuff like that, so I always thought, oh, I should search here and here, and then after a long time you finally get lucky, and it was actually one of the big moments. And from there, it's like the kid thing never goes away, so you want to see more and more.
Did I hear you say that there's only 3 snakes native to the Netherlands?
Yeah, true. Yeah, only the adder, which is Vipera berus, the smooth snake, Coronella austriaca, and the grass snake, which is now it's Natrix helvetica, but formerly it was Natrix natrix. And we also have like 2 introduced species, which is the Elav shrenki, which is the Russian red snake, and a bull snake, Pituophis. It lives in the dunes somewhere close to the ocean.
What? So, bull snake?
Yeah, we searched for them, but we didn't find them. But they're found there. Some probably released pets, and they're doing all right.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, because I think there's like a weird population of those Russian rat snakes in London or something like that. And are these just like escapes from the pet trade?
I think so. I know in the Netherlands they are like there is like a guy living there who really loves snakes, and so I don't think it's really a coincidence that they live there. He has a big bed and breakfast, and on his terrain there's big piles of rocks, and he made the area very suitable for snakes to live, to hibernate, and to reproduce. So in his area, they're doing pretty all right. Yeah.
So
Is
that's like
that
a weird old
yeah,
school
well,
mentality.
is that
Yeah.
looked down upon to release your own snakes in the Netherlands?
And make your own little
And
population.
yeah, make your own little area.
No, it's not what you're supposed to do. That's for sure. And normally, when stuff like that happens, then nature organizations will try to take them out because they're not native and they can cause problems for other animals in that area.
Right.
For the Russian red snakes, they do compete a little bit with the grass snakes, but they live together in that small area, and I don't think anyone is ever doing a lot about it because it's on private property for the biggest part. But yeah, if it would become like a real pest species and take over an area, and other species would get a less good life, then they will probably take them out.
So it seems like in general, snakes are in pretty specific pockets.
They don't have
country.
large ranges.
Yeah, like is that just fragmented because of like cities and urbanization and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's exactly the point. Yeah, that's why it's fragmented. Yeah.
And for example, like how big is the Netherlands, and how far did you have to travel to get where you need?
That's a good one. If I would drive, I'm somewhere on 2/3 down. So if I would drive 2 hours south, I would already be in the north of France. So then I just skip Belgium. And if I would go 2.5 hours north, then I would be in the most northern point. So, and if I would go 1 hour east, I would be in Germany.
Oh,
and,
wow.
So that's about how big it is. I think it's just over 300 kilometers in length. And yeah, a bit maybe 150 from west to east. But yeah, we do have like around 20 million people, so it's yeah, a lot of villages and a lot of cultivated land. So not a lot of nature left anymore.
Yeah. Now, are those adders and the things that you're finding? I mean, are there, places where there's mountain ranges or any elevation, or what's allowing that area to not be like urbanized?
The Netherlands is for a big part even below sea level, so we are behind the dikes. Water management is one of our specialties. Some people say that, but there's land. We even made land like making it dry and put dikes around it, and so we could make more villages. But a big part of the Netherlands is actually below sea level. And in the south, I think it goes up to 350 meters maximum. So you're actually, the Netherlands, the name says it all. It's very flat. Yeah, for me, it's ideal to drive around because you don't have a lot of, all the roads are fast when you're on the right time of the day. But it's boring if you like mountains and stuff like that. Yeah.
So what was kind of the key to finding that first adder?
Reading on the internet around a place that should be a good place, and I just went there, and I had the weather on my side. So then I found a couple, and it was like, oh, finally I got one. I was really happy with it. It was like not a juvenile; it was like 2 years old, I think, and yeah, it was really pretty. So I never stopped looking for adders. That's always a treat to see them.
Now, I know in the States, depending on where you live, people are very secretive about their spots that they have found certain animals or where they check. Is that the same in the Netherlands, or is it very open?
I think some of the places are known by almost everybody. And I understand why they keep them secretive, because yeah, we all know stories about an area that you shared with somebody, and then you come there and the snake that you always see at the same spot is gone and stuff like that. And so that happens, and there is still trade, of course. And I'm not pretty sure if there is a trade in the Netherlands with like Vipera bears or stuff like that. I think if it should be it, then people are already having it at home and breeding it probably. But sharing places I think it's an international, worldwide thing. Sometimes you do it with people you trust, and most of the time you just say no. Yeah.
Yeah, and as far as the general attitude towards, things like your adder there, I mean, we have a general hysteria that the general public likes to indulge in as far as venomous snakes. And now you guys only have 3 snakes, and one of them is venomous. So how do people perceive that?
I think in the Netherlands, it's like when people see an adder, they're like, "Oh, I saw an adder." It's like you're lucky to finally see something like that in the wild. So it's not. I think the Netherlands is pretty open on that kind of things. At one point in their childhood, they probably learned that we have 3 snakes in the Netherlands, and when they finally see one, they want to know what it is. I think this does not go for all the people in the Netherlands, but the opinion on snakes and stuff is not really let's kill them all or let's run them over. But if you go more southern Europe, then there are many myths about snakes drinking milk from the cows and stuff like that. So there are the French farmers, they will mostly kill an asp viper straight away on site, but that's because they're used to that, I guess, from their parents and before that.
Yeah, which would be similar to farmers in the United States would react the same way. And you kind of hinted at some type of weird myth, but what is it exactly that they think the snakes do?
Now, I think it's not really one that's only in Europe. I think it's in more countries in the world. It's like snakes. I think it's about the grass snake. It comes from the grass and then it bites in the nipples of the cow and it drinks the milk from the cows. Crazy, of course. Yeah, but yeah, I've never seen it actually.
Which is like milk snakes. Milk snakes are called milk snakes because they thought they did that.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I had no idea. I guess I don't know why.
Because all they are is king snakes. They're Lamper peltis, but
yeah, I don't know why I ever questioned. I just assumed they were king. I mean, there's so many silly names for snakes: milk snakes, corn snakes. They're all silly names.
Yeah,
when you think about it,
based on myth, but
right. But I had no idea.
Funny.
Interesting.
Yeah, but it's like these things, I guess, people pass down generation after generation.
Yeah, I think so too. That's it's shitty for the snakes, but it makes up for some good stories when you're having a beer.
So, when did you first start? I mean, outside of your own country, as far as like international herping, or can it be called that if you're going around Europe? Does it feel like more like we would be going from state to state rather than like country to country?
I think it's for Europe. It sure feels like a sort of home base. Even when if I have to go to Spain, it's still more than 1,200 kilometers, which is like 600 800 miles. So I have to fly there if I want to go there. Or when I go by car, it takes me a long time. So it does feel a bit like my own bigger home, Europe, but it's not actually. The countries are so different and the people are different in every country, and luckily the species are different too. So that's good.
Where's your favorite place to herp in Europe?
Wow, I do have a couple of favorite places. I was really astounded by the mountains in Montenegro. Really, really cool vipers there, and the beauty of the mountains itself. And I'm a big fan of the Pyrenees, which are the mountains between France and Spain. And you have like the south side is more hot, and the north side is more green. And you have some terrific vipers there, like asp vipers and Seoane vipers.
So it seems like you have an interest in vipers across the board.
a little bit, yes, yeah.
Vipers are your thing.
And is that the north side and the south side of the mountain? Are those going to be habitats for completely different species?
Sometimes it's if you go to the hotter side, then you have the species that you see in the whole of Spain, and on the north side, and you have like the species that you see in France. So it is like a big barrier between stuff, and there are actually at least 5 or 6 endemic species in the Pyrenees, like a frog, 3 mountain lizards, and brook salamander. So there are endemics there. So it's right, and it's a very beautiful place, and you can have good food. So that's also important.
Yeah, it seems like at least when you read your blog posts, they include things like beer, food, and stuff like that. So is that also part of it, and friends as well?
Yeah, friends is a big thing, and having fun is there are trips. Then you just search and search and search, and it's not good for the atmosphere. And I'm guilty of that myself too sometimes. For example, Morocco. If you want to go herping in Morocco, then there is only one good way of finding the animals, and that's looking in the water holes, the water systems where they catch the water that falls down, and then they keep it. So they have water in drier times, but those are big animal traps. So when you go there, you take a rope ladder and you climb in and out of those things, and that's all you do during the day. So if you're climbing in 200 holes, you find more animals than if you climb in 100 holes. So I just push the gas all the time, and last time it was not always funny. But we did find a lot of animals. So,
wait, so would you get like a lot of dead animals at the bottom of those holes?
Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
How big are these? I'm trying to imagine it. How big are these holes that you're climbing into?
It depends from. Sometimes the inside is like a small living room, and then you have before that there's like a big concrete open thing, which is like 2 to 2.5 meters deep and like 2 meters wide, and then round, and so they can fall in that, and then they can fall in other things, but they're all traps, and yeah.
That's so interesting.
And is that something that negatively impacts the wildlife there significantly?
I don't really think that it has a lot of the areas are so big and vast. Then the animals that live close to the road, they might fall in and die many times, but we keep finding them there, so there are probably lots of them.
Right.
So
is that a super remote area as it is?
Yeah,
so.
It is like the best way to see those animals there. And on the other hand, you say like, we save the animals, but yeah.
So when
we're also happy that the holes are there, because then now we can see them.
So when you find ones that are alive there, are you taking them out of the holes?
Yes, for sure, yeah. And then we release them again.
So you have to climb the rope back up with a snake?
Yeah, you can bag them down and with a rope get them up by the other person. It's not something you should do alone. I think you should always be with 2 persons and be careful, because there could also be a cobra inside. So it's not really a smart one-man job. It's you should be with more than one.
So have you ever gotten in a interesting situation close quarters with a cobra in that situation?
The cobras I saw were only like 50 centimeters, like 20 inches long. So I can handle those. That was all right. But yeah, some people do find them which are like 2 meters, and then it's a different ball game. If you want to hold a snake and climb up a rope ladder, then that's not smart.
What is it? What's kind of your philosophy on when you find venomous animals in the wild? I mean, what is your approach?
My approach is try to be safe, and so my hands not really close to the animal. But I must admit, then sometimes you get sloppy. So and for me, it's always I get sloppier when I'm around species that are not really that venomous, like European vipers, except for a couple. I'm sloppier than and with like the bigger, the more dangerous snakes. I'm really careful.
Do you use the tube method?
Or
No, I don't.
hook or anything.
Yeah.
No, I always have my tweezers with me and some gloves for small vipers. And but the tweezers, they work perfectly fine. And and otherwise, just a little hook for getting them into a bag. And just take your time if you want to get them in the bag and get them up from a water hole or from any other place. Taking the time is,
Is it actually more dangerous with those little guys? I mean, just grabbing a hold of.
Yeah, it's. I think the European vipers are really predictable. If they crawl away and you would take them by the tail and you'll be gentle with them, then they're most of the time not able to get up with their head to your hand because they're a little heavy-bodied and they're not really muscular. So then it's even possible to catch them with your hands, but it's not advisable, of course. And if it goes wrong, you just have a very big, fat, hurting hand. And I think most of us already know how this feels. But yeah.
So you've gotten bit? Is that what you're saying?
Oh yeah, I did get bitten sometimes, and you learn from it. That's my thing. But it's for example, in Spain, I was with my daughter catching little water snakes at the brook, and I had no idea that there would be the Iberian viper. It's Vipera latosti. They're actually pretty rare and also isolated populations. And suddenly I saw a little lizard running, and there was something going after it, and it was like maybe 5 or 6 inch long juvenile of a viper. And I was not even wearing my flip flops. I was just in my shorts, and there was nothing there. So I took a little branch and tried it. So it nicked me on the finger, and then my daughter had to tell my my wife, and she said, "Daddy got bitten." And then I had a big hand. But sometimes you're just in circumstances, then you don't have time to get a little something to. But you want to see the viper, so
right.
And then you take a risk that is, it's a big chance that you get bitten in the hands, and those risks I would never take with a like example for a Vipera ammodytes. I would never do it with that because they're a lot more potent and you get in trouble.
But with that bite, did you just get localized swelling and then everything went back to normal?
Yeah, a couple of days of hurting hands and hurting my arm, and it was getting back to normal pretty fast. So,
what did your daughter think of this whole ordeal?
She still talks about it.
Because I think that's either terrifying or like cool. I don't know. There's a few ways she can.
Yeah, it's 5 years ago, and she's 12 now. So, but she still talks about it sometimes.
She'll remember that forever.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And is that something that you've got her interested in, or does she show any interest towards it?
Oh yeah, I have 3 kids, and they do like to go with me and search, but it's only for a short period of time, and then they want to do something else, of course, because they're kids. And, but sometimes you just have to listen, and they have to walk, and then we search for a little bit longer. But you have to give and take sometimes. So, but they do like it. Yeah, they are really disappointed if we are, for example, we were on a campsite in Spain this summer, and then my youngest son, he's 3. And I said, I have to go to bed. He said, we didn't search for geckos yet tonight, Daddy.
Aww.
And there were geckos on the campsite, so we had to do 20 minutes of gecko searching, and then we found 7, and then he goes to sleep. So it's kind of fun, but I don't expect them to be my future herping buddies or something like that. They can do what they want.
Yeah. How did you first, speaking of that, I guess people, there's so many of us that are kind of isolated herpers, whether or not, they may go by themselves, but how did you kind of find friends to do it with?
Yeah, I think at the time that the internet went bigger and bigger, then you find out that there are people who have the same sort of thing as you have, and then you find out that they're also living in the Netherlands, and some of my best friends now are herping friends, and if we go on a trip together, it's not only it's that we find nice animals, but we also have a lot of fun. So I think the internet is the big starter of all the meeting of other people, and not only from Europe but also from the States and Central America. Actually, everywhere we go, we meet new people, and some you really have a good connection with, and then sometimes you try to meet up more and do other trips.
Are there parts of Europe where it's a very high population, do you feel, of herpers and people interested in that?
That's a good question. I do have the feeling now that in the last 5 years that there's a explosion of young herpers, and they also do big stuff straight away because it's all very accessible now. And when we did it, it was we were searching for the spots, and now all those spots are getting more known, and people just go there and they search for the viper and they go. It's sort of a race. It looks like that,
and I'm sure it's a lot easier.
I think for them it's much easier now because there's so much information about where to get the stuff. And if you talk about Morocco 12 years ago, nobody knew where to find the animals, and until a Spanish guy went to Israel and searched in the water holes there, the ancient water holes, found snakes, and he said, "Oh, let's try it in Morocco too." And then lots of good stuff came up. So now it's everybody knows where those holes are, and it's almost like you're driving in a train in some times of the year, and you have to be the first at the holes. So
now you're actually competing with other herpers.
I think things like that it can happen if you go to Morocco, but it's already a thing in the States, right? If you go road cruising and there are other guys on the road.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's everyone's trying. There's an influx of people posting stuff on Instagram and trying to get to different spots. And we've seen what seems like the same exact animal from 2 different Instagram people who are on different trips.
Yep.
I think people
back.
Definitely sharing the same spots. And I think, I think some people are kind of pissed off about it, and some people are, glad that there's other people into it.
Yeah, I think it's the same again with sharing the stuff. For me, it's I do get a lot of questions about hey, I'm going there, and where should I look for that species, and where should I look for that species? And sometimes I just answer a couple of them, but they always keep asking, and they want to know more and more. And then I always say, hey, you feel much better if you find something that you search for yourself. So maybe in that area, you should look for suitable habitat, and then maybe you find it yourself.
But I guess there's just as much opportunity to kind of break new ground and find your own. I mean, there's always range maps being extended, even here in the United States. People finding things where we didn't know they were previously.
Bull snakes and things that.
Not exactly.
Yeah,
maybe a more natural occurrence, but
they like swimming.
So it's there's still new things to find out. If we keep on just searching the same places, you often, I suppose, get the same results.
And people we've had on in the past in the podcast talk about well, it also depends on what time of year you're going, if the weather that day or everything like that. And it's just because you went on the trip at this time doesn't mean you won't find it next week. And that's kind of depressing to tell people just keep looking, but it's true. It's, you might not find it then, but come back a month later, come back after a storm or something like that, and you might find it then.
Well, and how do you, how do you manage to like do all this planning and then the weather goes
Throws
one
it all
way or
off.
another and then you're screwed?
Yeah, that's something you should take it like a man. If the weather sucks, then it's gone. Yeah, then the opportunity is gone, and then you have to try it again. And if you are often in mountain areas, then you're used to getting bad weather every now and again. So those things can happen. Yeah.
Do the same things that happen on like our peaks here? I mean, things like lightning storms and stuff like that. Does that happen over there?
No, it's. I think the activity here does a lot less when we have weather like that. If you, I went 2017. I went with some American guys to Arizona and then into Mexico to Sonora and Coahuila, and it was one big fest of finding snakes. We saw like 60 species of snake, which is really not normal. And the weather there is everything. And in Europe, it's more like for vipers. If you have like clouded weather, when the sun tries to get through, then you have like a bingo day. But if it's too hot or too cold, then you just don't see them. Maybe you can flip them if you're lucky, but that's it. And thunderstorms, they're not really doing a lot here. I think they do things with the activity, but not much for snakes. The climate is different too. I think if you're in the south of Europe, then it might be different, and especially for amphibians. If you want to see amphibians, then we always in Spain, and we like to go in the winter, because if it's raining, then you have a lot of temporary ponds, and all the frogs are breeding, and those are animals you will never find in summer, never. So the weather does things here, but it's different than in the States, for sure.
Yeah, and how, I guess, the other part of this whole herping hobby is taking pictures of things that you find, and you take great pictures of all the animals you find.
Thank you.
How'd you get into that aspect of herping?
Taking pictures was something I always liked to do. So then from one things you go to another, and then you'd like to have a picture as good as possible. And like every herper will say, it's always the best if you have a nice in situ picture. But we all know that it's not always possible. And for some snakes, it's even almost impossible to make a normal picture, because they always keep moving. So it can be a shitty job to take a picture. But I must admit, when I'm in a country like Morocco, and you want to check the holes and you want to put all your time in that, then the photography goes down. Then I'm very happy with a bad picture then. I'm more satisfied if I come home and I look at the pictures and I think, oh, that's a nice picture. Yeah. So it's an important part of the herping.
But is the main function just basically to document what you found?
Yeah, it is. And if a picture would be nice, then it's like a bonus.
Right.
Yeah.
And what first got you onto Instagram and posting your pictures up there?
Well, I think some of my colleagues were already on Instagram. I think it was 2016 or something like that. And they're just doing stupid things there, and I thought, let's try it also. And yeah.
And then you've been maintaining your site much longer than that. So when you start doing that?
I think I made a site in 2012 or something like that. Yeah, and then I tried to make all the trips that I did after I went digital with my camera, and made a short report about it. But I must admit, last year I did not make any report yet, so I still have to finish some of those, like Georgia in Asia, and Turkey, which was an awesome trip. All the mountain vipers there are awesome. And Costa Rica, we've been in the summer. And Morocco, we've done. So I do have some catching up to do with the reports.
Wow, and you've done an amazing amount of traveling. I mean, how do you, with living a normal life, how do you get
How do you
out
have
that
the
much
time
and
for all
able to
this?
travel? Yeah.
I do. My holidays are most of the time used for doing that, and even when I'm with my family, I can do some herping every now and again. And then for other people it looks like I've been herping all day every day, but it doesn't. But other trips are just herping, and then I just use the holidays I get from my boss. So that's all I can do.
If you don't mind us asking, what do you do for work?
I am working with the Netherlands Marine Corps, but currently I am in a function to teach in a school for young people who want to join the military, the Dutch military, and they're still a little bit too young to enter straight away, so they can do education and get a certain degree. And they also get like basic military basic skills, so they already can taste a little bit of what their future can be like. And I'm an instructor there now. It's actually a lot of fun, but those 16-year-olds are a handful.
So that's like
the
JROTC.
The ROTC. That's what I was thinking. What does ROTC stand for? By the way, I always say it, but I never know what it stands.
Yes,
I should look that up. The ROTC is like what a lot of people in high school and college do before they are ready to join the military.
All right.
Reserve Officers Training Corps.
There you go.
All right.
And then when I was in the Army, we always had guys in, it always seemed like crazy colored uniforms there training, doing in small groups and stuff, learning from us. So were you able to do any, training around the world? Did that aid in your travel at all?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's the places I've been to with my work. I did see some good stuff, but I never were. I can't put all my energy into herping when I'm away, because the training goes first. But I did see some nice stuff. For example, Camp Lejeune in the States, and Camp Wilson at 29 Palms. Like sidewinders all over the place, and good stuff. Been to Africa in Chad, and then you accidentally find a snake, and so then you have to make photos. That's how it works.
Yeah, I don't know if people realize, at least here in the States, some of our most preserved lands are actually military bases. So say like Fort Polk, Louisiana, has Louisiana pine snakes and gopher tortoises, and it's like when we were out in the field, you find animals, because it's a lot of, even if it's something to where we shoot 50 cal rounds down all day, still animals live there. I mean and
there's
rare
still not
animals.
a million houses being built, or cars, too many
Right,
cars,
it's just open land.
There's guns and bullets and stuff, but it's still open land.
Yeah, those places are perfect for snakes. Probably if you have the shooting ranges, then there's a lot of rubbish around, like plates and stuff and pieces of boards, or they use that. So
yeah, and I saw your post from North Carolina, and it seemed like you acted like you didn't have a lot of time to herp, but I feel like you hit pretty much all the major animals that you see in that area. I mean, you found them all.
Yeah, that's already 11 years ago. I think it was a good training, and we did have some time just to do a little bit of walking around, and it was good. And I think it was even on the base when you walked from our barracks to the PX store, and there was a little lake, and I always said, there are snakes there. So I walked around, and there were many red-bellied water snakes, and I think Pantherophis obsoleta, what was there too? Let me see. Yeah, the black racers, of course, and the one I can't think of them. That's always the thing when I'm thinking in English, then I can't find the.
He knows most of the Latin names.
Archistrodon, the
Conquistador, the cottonmouth.
not
Or
cottonmouth,
you
the other one.
copperhead.
Yeah, the other one. The one that looks like leaves.
Yeah, the
And
copperhead.
they were just next to the trail. So yeah.
When you go to new places, do you prefer to go in completely blind and just kind of like walk around, or do you prefer to do a little bit of research to what some people have posted about it?
Yeah, I do. It depends on where I go, but I always like to do a lot of research. Yeah, to don't waste a lot of time, and to try to be as successful as possible. Yeah, and most places you go, some friends already been there, so you can always ask them. And yeah, there are always friends who do share, of course, because you're already friends for a long time. And yeah, it is. It is. I must admit, it feels so much better when you're in a new area and you find something really cool. But yeah, it's not like I have all year. Even if you guys think that I'm going on trips all year, but I don't. So yeah, if it's just a hobby and not your work, or you're not a researcher or in the field for months, then it's too much fuss to just go and search in the wild. Just search wherever you think. You just want to see the animals most of the time. So that's your goal, and try to reach that as easy as possible. Even if it's not easy most of the time. But, yeah.
Right. But easier than going in blind.
Yeah, it's if you like last spring we were in Turkey, and Turkey. If you ever have the chance, just go there. It's the country. I think we almost never came below 1,000 meters, so it's all very mountain, and on the higher parts they have like many species of viper, like the mountain vipers, Montivipera and Vipera, and all the areas where you can find them are really beautiful areas. They're all mountain areas. So we were in there for like 2 weeks, and we were just 2 weeks in beautiful habitat. And some places were like wild guesses where we were searching, and other were with some good help from friends. But we got pretty lucky there with finding all the Montivipera species we wanted to see, and almost all the Vipera species we want to see. So yeah, it's amazing country.
Was that a lot of, covering ground on foot, or do you do road cruising or whatever the equivalent would be to that?
I think it was like 6,300 kilometers of driving, because they don't live in the same area most of the time. Especially if you go to the Montiviperas, they're all from different areas. And if you have you're snake keeper, so you're probably familiar with the Montivipera genus. It's like the Ottoman viper, and it's also living on Greek islands. So we first went to a Greek island, and it's supposed to be the island where they are the biggest. And we found a male and a female, and the male was like 1.10 meters. That's like a really big viper for us, for us Europeans. And the female was almost 1 meter, so also a big viper. And then we went to the mainland, and we took a flight to Trabzon, which is in the northeast of Turkey. And that's a really green, rainy, shitty weather area. But you do have some really nice vipers, like the Vipera kasnakovi, which is like a very popular snake for viper lovers who keep vipers at home. But they're only in a really extreme small area in the northeast of Turkey. And according to my friends who already been there, it's like a really shitty area to interact with the locals. And if they know you're searching for snakes, they will call the police and stuff like that. So we were really, when we went there, we were a bit worried about what's going to happen. And actually nothing happened. We only had good contact with those people. And I think it's just the other guys being not able to talk to foreign people the way we did. So I blame them.
That was actually my next question about interactions you've had with law enforcement in your different travels?
I do have a good story about that. We spent the night in jail once in Greece because we were on I think it was the Nestos Delta. It's a delta of a river. That's the border between Turkey and Greece, and it was just at the time that all the fugitives, so the people from Syria, were trying to get into Europe and stuff like that. No, it was before that. It was way before that. But that area, we went in there. It was good for a certain frog, and we were photographing 3 frogs, and then we saw like a big police car with the lights on. So we think, let's say hi and let's have a chat. And the minute we walked up to the car, we saw them taking a step back and just looking really worried. We're like, oh, okay, what's happening here? But that area is supposed to be an area where traffickers used to get a lot of people over the border. So they actually thought we were trafficking people into Europe, which we were not, because we were taking pictures of tree frogs. And even we had like 1,000 pictures of snakes and frogs and other shit per person on our cameras. They did not believe us. So we went from there. We went to the police station. People were called. It was in the middle of the night, out of the bed. We got interrogated separately, and everybody told exactly the same stories. And then we had to stay inside the police station. They didn't really lock us up, but the door was closed at the entrance of the police station. But we could walk around free then. And the next morning, other guys came, and the guys who were there in the police station, they knew our story, so they believed us, and we just talked to them. We had a lot of fun, and then the other shift came in, and we were treated like criminals. So there were guys, and they had to take our fingerprints, and they were all like the little annoying guys who had the bad jobs, and they were pulling my finger, and I almost did some not so pleasant things to that guy, so I kept it with some nasty words. And then we had to go into court. Yeah, we had to go into court, and there was a lady who tried to get us. She really wanted to punish us for what we did, but we
for
did
taking
actually
pictures.
Nothing. Yeah, for taking pictures. But it was, the area was supposed to be a no-go area. There were all military towers were there, but during the day there were like many Greek families riding around on motorcycles and having a barbecue. But at night there was nobody there, but only us. So and then she really tried to give us a punishment for that, and but the jury just said no, they're nature lovers, they can't do anything else. And then she started to get really angry to the police officers that they didn't do enough to get us convicted. We had a lot of fun that day, but
wait, so you had to go through like an actual trial?
That happened so fast. I feel like
it was a good way of one night in prison, and then in the morning the trial, and then we could go. But the best part of it is that meanwhile my girlfriend was not on the trip with me, and she was flying to Thessaloniki, which was like 400 kilometers away, and I should have picked her up around 1 in the afternoon. But around 12 we got released from the police station. And then we had to get back to our car, and then I could pick her up. So I picked her up like 6 hours later. And she was a bit angry, but she understood later after I told the story.
Yeah, you had a good reason.
Yeah, we had a good reason. Yeah,
and
the Greek newspapers were full of the stories about us. So some friends from Greek all sent the links to the stories in the newspaper. It was quite funny. I think those links are still in one of the reports.
No way.
In 2013 trip to Greece. Yeah, yeah, that was a lot of fun.
That seems like that's probably one of the last places I would assume that you would get arrested.
Yeah, I thought more the Middle East, or
Yeah, I do have. There are places. Yeah, there was. I think my girlfriend once said "bitch" to a customs lady in Israel. That didn't turn out so good. But she was really being not really polite. I'll turn the lights on somewhere in my room. And so that I had to talk like 45 minutes to the guys that she was pregnant at the time, and that she did say it out of emotions, and it was not really meant to be like that. But I also said that their employee was really not being nice to us. So that I actually thought that bitch was a nice word for that woman. But we could go into the country then. But yeah, and for other places in Israel, when we herp there, you herp lots of times close to the border with Egypt, close to the border with Jordan, and there are also a lot of military controls there. So you meet a lot of military and police there at night, and most of the time you can just explain what you're doing, and they're like, "Oh, you're crazy. Snakes are dangerous."
But they let you go.
Yeah, they let you do your thing, and just say, "Okay, just don't go behind that gate, or don't go there." That's just what they do, and there's not a lot of trouble. Yeah, in Morocco, the problem in Morocco is that the police is always trying to fine you for lots of things. So you have to. If there is a stopping stripe, even in the middle of the road, without any reason, just stop, because around the corner there's a policeman watching. And
to get
so
you.
you have to get used to that, and then you can drive through Morocco without paying a lot of extra money. So
is it kind of like, do they not like outsiders, or do they just want to? They know you may have some money, and
yeah, that's it. That's it.
There.
Yeah, and I think that the King of Morocco changed some rules, so it's not easy anymore for them to give you a fine and take the money themselves. And I always say, okay, you can fine me, but you have to write an original ticket. And if then most of the time they say, "Hey, Hassan, let them go," and then we can go. But sometimes you just get the fine, but then it's not so high as they try to make you pay.
So they're kind of depending on dumb tourists to just give them money basically directly.
I think in the it was like that. Yeah, it's getting better now, definitely. Yeah, and even there we have lots of good talks too with the police, and as long as you can understand each other a little bit, it's all right. Yeah.
Did you speak any bit of the same language?
My question. Yes, I was about to ask, how many languages do you speak?
Oh, for me, it's English and Dutch, and a little bit of German, and a little bit of French, and a couple of Spanish words, and then that's about it. So in Morocco, sometimes we were lucky that we had somebody with us who was French. So then it's a lot easier straight away. And and if it's not easy, then you just have to do this all the time. Don't know. Pretend to be the really stupid tourist.
Right. And how did that, as far as like the communication, how does that serve you in, say, like the Greece situation?
That didn't. It was the guys who arrested it. It was certain that they, after a while, they knew that we were talking the truth, but they got orders that now we have to take him to the station, and other people came, and there were other people just making decisions about us then, and they would have let us go maybe after 10 minutes, but other people told them that we had to go there. So that was not really easy to talking with them. And the next day when we got to court, and there was a young police officer who was just in civilian clothing who talked to us, and he said, "Oh yeah, it's going to be a little bit of this and that," and he knew what we was talking about, and he said, "No, it's going to be all right." And not one of those stressful idiots. Yeah.
Was there any one country, that you felt actually in danger at any point?
Or one that you wouldn't ever go back to again?
No, I think I never felt in danger anywhere. No, not really. I did have a lot of time in Mexico in the in the Sierra Madre, and of course there are many stories about that. But it was just having a really good time there and meeting lots of nice people. We slept at the father of the church there, which was an American who lived for 27 years already in that mountain city. And we slept inside the church. We took the venomous snakes into the church to photograph them there, and then that was really cool.
Wow, I'm surprised they let you do that.
Yeah, it was just a guy who was really interested in nature also, and he was doing projects with children in the area and teach them about the snakes they can meet and just give them some minor information about what good they would do for the environment and why it's not always good to cut the head off. And so he was one of the American guys made contact with him, and so we got to meet him, and he offered us a place to sleep. So we slept there for I think 4 nights, and it was really cool. But that's also an area when lots of things happen. So at one point we went into a valley, and we had to go by a guy, and his name was Don something, and all the jokes he made was with a pistol. He made a pistol out of his hand and say pop pop pop. I was really funny guy, but it was. He said, when you walk there, don't go over the hill, don't go past that river, don't go there. So he gave us a lot of restrictions to stay in that valley, because there are probably a lot of plants on the other side which are good for his wallet, and maybe not so good for us to know where they are.
So were you led, was there like, are these guided trips in any way, or how did you guys arrange, say, this trip to Mexico?
I think the guys I went with go to Mexico a lot, so they already had a lot of information on. They already been to those areas many times, and they always they always do it the smart way. They try to meet local people who are interested in the same, and then you take them along. And if you end up in any situation, then they might be able to help you a little bit better than when you're just with not native people there. Yeah, the thing, the people you just have to be careful with in Mexico is the police, I think. Yeah, they can mess up your trip.
So do you have to bring, a certain amount of bribe money to make them happy, or?
I know. Some of them try to make one of the cars. We were with quite a group to follow them, and they said, "Hey, we have to go into the station." But they drove out of town into a little road in the middle of nowhere. So one of the guys we were with, they just turned the car around as fast as possible and hit the gas and drove away. So they try to rob you or fine you for something that you didn't do, or they like money, I think.
And what was the herping like in Mexico, in that area of Mexico?
Awesome, really awesome. Yeah, I saw so many species I could only dream of, or only saw them from the children books that I had, and other coral snakes, many species of rattlesnake. Drymarchon, all that magical stuff. Really awesome to be there. Yeah, and the scenery is great. The food is good, except for one night. But yeah, but we still found a lot of snakes that night.
The Drymarchon that's there. Which species is that?
Wow, it's black. Is it? I think it's Melanurus.
Blacktail, or
I think it's black-tailed cribbo. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Let me see.
I want to say Rubidus, but I may be wrong.
It's almost black, but I think. Meanwhile, I'm trying to find it.
But you ended up finding one on that trip?
No, some other guys did. We were with quite a big group, and everybody brought their animals to the place we stayed, and then we had like a big show of all the animals we saw. Really awesome.
So you basically like all went out, came back with bags, and then showed what you caught for the day?
Yeah, that was what we did then. It was really cool. Yeah, for me it was like seeing so many species I could only dream of, and yeah, really,
On
really nice.
on all the trips you've gone on and like with the people you've gone with, do you think it's a universal understanding to leave these animals in nature when you're done, or do you frequently or not so frequently meet those people who kind of want to take everything back with them?
I think it's very different. For example, in the States, it's with certain species, people are allowed to have like a couple of them at home. So yeah, you also meet people who then we find a nice animal and they want to take it home. And for me, it's yeah. I don't really like it myself, but yeah, it is the way it is, and yeah, that's those things happen because of the rules of the country most of the time. So
In the Netherlands, I'm assuming you're not. Are you allowed to take any?
no, all the snakes in the Netherlands are protected. So you probably only are allowed to keep the bull snake from the dunes and the Russian one. Let me see.
And do you have any restrictions on private keeping there? Species?
Yeah, I don't. I think you have rules, but I'm not really familiar with them. If you want to keep venomous snakes and certain species, I think you need to have papers for them. So, but yeah, that's not really my thing. So, I'm not professional in that way.
Yeah.
Do you think you'll ever return to private keeping?
No, I don't think so. No. It's just I'm sometimes a lot of longer away from home, and I don't want other people to take care of my stuff. So I just like my cat, which is here. His name is Bassi, and yeah, that's all I have. And when he decides to live somewhere else, I'm happy with it too, and I won't take another one.
Right. And as far as talking about far away from home, I want to talk a little bit Central America, South America. So I know, I mean, a very common herper's dream, especially for someone who's interested in amphibians and frogs, Costa Rica.
Your dream. You're doing this because you want to go to Costa Rica.
Well, yeah, but I feel like that is where most of the herpers in the United States start as far as their first international trip is typically to Costa Rica. And so can you talk a little bit of your experience of herping Costa Rica?
Yeah. Now, Costa Rica, for herping, it is like ideal. It's relatively safe and it's not really expensive to go there most of the time. And you have many places where you can herp. I was there first in 2015 with my family. And then every night after the kids went to bed, I did another round and I found many nice stuff, many good animals. And in 2017 I went again, and on the second time you just try to concentrate on species you really want to see. So I did go for the glass frogs and Triprion spinosus, the big tree frog, which is like chocolate brown with the spines in his neck. And the last time we had like a big list of animals that are really hard to find and or are almost never found by others. So we had like a more specific trip, and we made contact with Costa Rican herpers, and most of them are also guides. So it works a little bit different in Costa Rica than if you go to other places where you have like friends or people you just meet and you herp with them together for 2 days. When in Costa Rica, it's their income. So if you want to herp with a guide and it's going to cost you money, it's probably because all the Americans use Costa Rica as a very nice touristic thing. But
Yeah,
that's that's between us.
for their
they're really
vacation.
they're used to getting money for all those kind of things. So for me, that's not really the way I like to herp, because I like to make friends, and if they want to ever come to the Netherlands and see that one snake species here, then they're always welcome. I'm not really into that paying thing, but this time we just, for the rare species we wanted to find, we needed some guys to do that. So we teamed up with really some really nice guys that I already met through the internet, and we went to places that they not even you cannot really go there yourself, because it's like a big private area. And for example, for the Atelopus, so it's like a big private area owned, I think, by an American. But if you want to go there, then you have to know one of those guys, and then you have to ask for permission to enter the area, and then they ask you what you're going to do. We're going to go birding. Yes, of course, we went birding. And then we did find the Atelopus toads, so they are still there. And one of them was dying, so the fungus problems are not gone. And that's sad to see, but it's always good to see that you also find a really happy, alive, strong animal. And we were happy that we saw a lot of stuff that we never saw before. And the stuff we really wanted to see, like example, the Arthropoidus picadoi. It's like the jumping viper, but then it's more from the higher regions.
How did I know it was going to be another viper?
Yeah, it's maybe I should talk more about amphibians. It's we just accidentally found a viper because we were looking for a very glass rock we already saw 10 times. So now it was that's a viper. You don't even, if you look on iNaturalist, for example, there was like one record of that, and there are not many pictures you find on the internet. So I wanted to find that one, and then we met a guy. It was Christian, and he is like in the area, and he has contact with a lot of farmers who used to kill snakes, and now they give him a call, and they think it was Federlands that they killed, but it was like between 1,600 and 1,900 meters that they have their farm. And Christian said like, I want to see those snakes because I don't think it's Federlands. And then that's how he found out that those were the ones that I wanted to see. So we were actually lucky enough to witness, to pick one up at a farm and release it at another place. But the viper was awesome. Yeah.
What great timing.
Yeah, it was.
And it also goes to show you the whole like connections thing, having connections there, as well as getting out of just the regular like eco lodge trails that most people are probably going in, and going somewhere that's just largely.
And those are not bad either. If you look, like there are like groups of Americans, they go every time to the same hotel and they find like lots of things. But if you look at those lists, the list is always the same species, and sometimes they find one that's a bit more rare. I also wanna, if you want to see more of Costa Rica, then you have to visit more areas. We also went to San Vito, which is close to the Panama border, and you can find other stuff again. And that's like I already said, the good thing about Costa Rica is that it's such a free and open country, and you can go almost anywhere. And the rivers are property of the state, so you're even if it's private territory, you're allowed to walk upstream to the rivers. Mm-hmm. Now, that is of course like the best place to walk upstream if you want to find some animals. So, it's an ideal country to herp. And on the other hand, you also hear a lot like Costa Rica. It's not for real herpers. It's too easy, and but it's not. All the animals we found is just because we were all night walking around until we almost dropped. So it's still hard work, but you can see a lot, especially if you go to a couple of places. One of the best places, if you ever go to Costa Rican Amphibian Research Center, from Brian Kubicki. It's awesome. He can show you so many nice amphibians. He's not really a Viper guy, so it's strange why I like him. But it's an awesome place. If you have the chance, go there. And there are many other cool spots.
And is it common? I mean, are you mostly at night, flashlights, and are you herping mostly at night in Costa Rica?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because the activity starts when it gets dark, and you can find some diurnal species, and that's what you do. But if you do like 3.5 weeks in a row, then most of the time during the day you're not doing much anymore. It's like sleeping a bit and trying to do as much as possible at night, doing the photography during the day, and just relax and walk around, do some reconnaissance of a route you want to walk, or some stream, and that's always better in daylight, of course.
And is that something to where, I mean, would you be comfortable like self-guiding this stuff, or do you need someone with you to make sure you don't get...
No, I don't need any. No. If we, the most places we do it all, we did it ourselves, me and Annick, which is my girlfriend now for a short while. So we did most of it ourselves, and that's fine. You just it's all about knowledge, right? If you fuck around with venomous animals, you just need to know what is it that you have in front of you, and if you don't know it yourself, then better walk with a guide, or just make sure you always know the route back and know what to do if something happens. That's the most important thing, I think. And Costa Rica is relative safe, so it's not like you get kidnapped if you walk somewhere at night. At least I hope so.
And are you relying on any type of equipment or anything that you bring in general?
Like what do you mean?
Like whether it's navigation equipment or even headlamps and stuff like that. What do you have?
Yeah, headlights. I always use I don't only use a headlight and a hand torch, because if you walk like all night, then your balance is your eyes get really tired fast from being from the flashlight, and so it's for me it helps if I have just 2 flashlights to randomly look at everywhere with my headlight, and then if I want to see some specific things, just put the torch on it, and I always have stuff to navigate, but I always try to memorize a map also, and if we walk, most of the time we do a day. During the day we walk around and we see, we want to walk there, and then I try to make points of to know where I am, and so I can always go back. Yeah, that's just a basic rule that I use for that. So, yeah.
Okay, I wanted to shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
We'll probably come back to herping. But I'm always interested in like the research side of snakes and everything. And so do you feel like in the Netherlands, only having 3 types of snakes, does it allow for in-depth research to be done on those? Or because there's only 3, is there not much interest or money behind doing research on those?
The money thing is a big thing. I think there are not a lot of organizations who do research on the snakes, but there are some who does it, and most of the research is done by people who voluntarily walk the same routes several times in a certain period, and they give their data to those organizations, and most of the research is done by that and by students, so it's not really a big thing. That's it happens, but I'm not really familiar with how many people do actually do that kind of research. I know a couple, but I don't know them all, and I know it's not something you can get rich of.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's a global thing, I think.
Yeah, and no matter what aspect of snakes you're in, I feel in whatever which way you're trying to monetize your snake fun, it's probably a pretty uphill battle. Unfortunate for all the ball python folks out there.
I feel like when there's only like 3 in an area, like you have the opportunity to learn like every single thing about, one of the most prominent
or it's
ones.
underappreciated.
It's probably underappreciated. Yeah.
Or, but like kind of like, Decay's brown snake or something. There's not going to be many people who are interested in finding out so much even about a very common snake, even though I'm sure here in the U.S. there's been plenty of research. But
where are those found?
Everywhere in the United States. Okay, that's just because the grass snake would be something similar kind of in Europe. It's pretty much like your garter snake or your Decay's brown, right?
Yeah, I think it's like more like the grass snake. Yeah.
It's just so common that people aren't really.
They are common in Europe, and you do have a lot of subspecies if you go to islands and stuff, or you go to Italy or other peninsulas, and then you get other species of other subspecies. But it's if you have seen a couple, then you have seen them all. But I think some people will get angry when they hear this.
Nah, I mean, it's nice to appreciate the simple things, but at the same time,
acknowledge that they're the simple things.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's nice to go in Turkey and find Viper. I mean, that's it must be as much adventure as it is finding the animal, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and let's be honest. Most of the animals that we think are special are the ones which are not often found. We do make rules in our head about if something is found in high numbers, then it's less interesting.
Right.
But not always, but most animals do have that disadvantage. If they are around in high numbers, then they're not as important as the one that's rarely seen.
And I think that's true of species in the wild and captive bred species. It's always this, since we breed corn snakes, it's always this kind of interesting thing, like, oh, corn snakes are good for first pet, or they're super common and everything. But we obviously we value corn snakes and we hold them very high because we breed them. But
other people see it as stepping stone,
right? Other people who have blackheads or anything much more intense, they don't view it the same.
Or you have situations where you take like the Woma python who's from Australia and we could never get one, and then all of a sudden we got one, and then they were $30,000, and then now like $200 everywhere, and people stopped appreciating them. Once there was such a high value placed on them, and then they sank low, unfortunately.
That's how it works.
Yeah, it's like things just start high. This half fictitious number out there.
Yeah, then people start breeding them, and then the prices go down. Yeah.
Have you been to Australia?
Yes, I've been there, but it was 2002, 2003, and it was in the summer then, so we didn't see a lot of snakes. But I was always searching for animals. Yeah.
And what part of Australia were you in?
We went from Sydney to Cairns and Port Douglas and down to Melbourne and to straight up to the Uluru in the middle and to Darwin. So we took the east side, and we were there for 5 months. So we had
5 months. Whoa!
Yeah. I didn't have a. I quit my job for 7 months, and we went traveling, and we just did just driving around, sleeping in the car, and living on dry bread sometimes. And I got back home really skinny, so but it was really, really fun to do that. And Australia is such a cool place to drive around. It's I loved it.
So why did you pick? I mean, you could have went anywhere. What was particular about Australia that made you want to do this?
It was a good country for just doing like 9 months of 7 months of doing nothing, just enjoying the scenery, enjoying the land, enjoying the people, and out of that 7 months, we also went like 2 months to New Zealand and 1 week in Hong Kong. But if I would have done it now, then I would have seen a lot more animals because of all the contacts now you have and people you meet on the internet. But back then it was just, hey, let's have a walk here, and there's a lizard. Let's try to catch it. So yeah.
Obviously that is a super scary experience for anyone. Like, to think of just quitting your job and moving to Australia. I think people, well, not exactly moving, but just traveling around Australia. I don't know. That sounds like an awesome thing to do, but most people would be scared to do something like that.
It is like a thing that people who still study, they like to do that, to travel around for 6-7 months. And but I already had a job, and I made an agreement with my boss that I could, when I came back, that I could start working straight away again. So, and he said yes, and we made he wrote his signature on the paper. And actually, when we came back, it was sort of a bad economical time. So he said, yeah, you've been away so long, we're going to fire you. And then I said, wait, I have your signature here. I'm coming tomorrow. Wow. So I could start straight away because he wrote it down. So it was a good thing to have that black and white on paper. Yeah.
Get it written down.
Yeah.
But he didn't like make your life a living hell after that or anything?
No. Actually, it went better from there. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, but it was before I joined the Marine. So, yeah.
Is that something that you had the like luxury of being young and not having many strings attached to be able to do something like that?
Yeah, it's that's it. I was already working for a couple of years, and the girlfriend I had back then, she just finished her study, and she wanted to travel to Australia, and I was like, maybe I should go with you. And she was like, oh yes. So we tried to see if it was possible, and it was possible. So yeah, why not do it then? And I saved up some money so we could like do those 6-7 months do nothing but just the things we wanted. So that was really cool. But it was really, really hard to get back to work after that. Doing only nice things for so long is just really breaking you mentally if you have to go back to work after that.
Yeah, it seems like you'd be living in this like hedonistic type of like, you do things that only give you pleasure, and then you have to bring discipline back into your life.
Yeah, it sucks.
Damn it, I want to go back to Australia.
It really sucks, yeah.
Do you feel like if you hadn't started traveling young, do you think you would have done all you've done and seen all you've seen?
Oh, yeah, it's that's always that's a difficult question, of course, because you don't know if you would have done anything different. Then you don't know what would have happened then. But I think traveling has always been one of the things I wanted to do, and yeah. And combined with herping, of course, it's just a thing. It's I don't even have a choice. It's when I walk somewhere, even if I know there's nothing there, I walk on. I look into the sides of the road. Maybe it's recognizable for people, but it's just the way it is. But yeah, if I always went on quite. My dad, my parents have a camping car, so we were always on the move in Europe in the summer months, and so yeah, we like to move around. And my brother is even more crazy on that turf. He goes like everywhere and does crazy stuff like jumping in a canoe and going around Sumatra, stuff like that. And I don't have time for that because I have a real job, and he is sort of freelance photographer, so he does whatever comes along.
That's awesome. And I feel like
that's a lot of nice things he does.
I feel like Eric Burke is yelling at us from Morelia Python Radio saying, you talked about Australia, did he find any carpet pythons? So
oh no, I didn't.
Thanks.
So none at all.
No, I did find some snakes,
Oh,
yeah, but not so many. I think some like a keelback is like a little water snake, sort of garter snake kind of thing, and the tree snakes, a couple of them, and I think I saw a red belly moving away through the water, a red belly black snake, and let me see, we did find some pythons, but they were on the road, so that's not really. They were dead, so that sucks. But it was not the right time for the summer is too hot for finding snakes. And yeah, if you don't have any inside information, then it's even harder.
Right.
I like how though if you're gonna get across anything, it's gonna be like a red belly black or something that could kill you. That's always fun. If you're gonna find something, find a lappet of some sort.
Yeah, they are big and fast there. So
yeah.
Okay, I have to ask, where all have you been in the United States? So I know North Carolina, Arizona,
Texas.
Florida. I once had on a flight to Costa Rica the first time with my family. We had like a 14-hour of stopover in Miami. So I said, "Oh, we're taking a hotel in Homestead," and I'm driving the whole night. So they were sleeping and I was driving, and I got totally fucked into when I came into Costa Rica because I didn't sleep. But I did find like a couple of snakes, so I had a lot of fun there. So Florida, I've been to Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, California. Let me see.
A lot of the coast.
Yeah, and a lot of places on with the flight when you on the. I also been in your town. It's Philadelphia, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had a stopover there once, so I've been there.
Let us know if you ever come. You can drive like 3 hours and see a timber rattlesnake, but
oh yeah, that's. I think the east side of the United States is really an interesting part for me to go there once, because I also like salamanders a lot, and of course there the timber rattlesnakes are one I did not see before, and they are really really beautiful.
Yeah, and that's something to wear with the salamanders. I was surprised when we went to North Carolina. I found some giant salamanders, and obviously throughout like Tennessee is a giant area for salamanders and stuff like that. It's kind of like in the way Australia, you need to take like 20 trips just to hit all your hot spots to go to see completely different things. I feel like the United States has a good like.
Well, we're also huge.
It's huge, and yeah, you need to take so many trips to really get.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Is there a place in the United States you haven't been that you want to?
Oh, I think it's working quite simple. Everywhere that I did not go yet, and where I can find night animals, I still want to go.
Everywhere.
So that's so it's not going to happen in this lifetime, I think. But I would still love to see many places in the United States and anywhere else on the world, actually. But like I said, the east sides with the Appalachian mountains and stuff like that. It's maybe one day.
Yeah, and have you been to Indonesia or anything over there?
No, I just spent 1 week in Hong Kong, and all I saw there was a gecko and a big city. But I know now that even in the city of Hong Kong, you can find lots of snakes if you know the right places. But I didn't know it back then. And for the rest, I did not have any Asian adventures yet. It's it will happen probably one day, and because there are a lot of nice animals there too.
But you have done Africa.
Oh yeah, I think Africa is if you compare Africa with Asia, for me it's like comparing a beautiful viper with a grass snake. But that's Africa. But Africa it can be crazy, and it's really hard to find animals there. And Africa, you have like the tourist thing is like people are paying money to see animals. So if you searching for snakes and you meet up with people who search snakes, then that thought is still there. So you pay them money and they find you snakes. And if they really find you snakes, it's sort of a mystery. Do they have them somewhere in a bag, or is somebody bringing them while you're searching there? Or it's not all really. I had my doubts sometimes when we were there, and but we also after the doubts we checked him many times, and we know some of the coolest snakes that we found were really from the wild, and maybe it's one that he released like a week before, or you never know how that's happening. But many snakes we found were with damage on the frontal scales or the nose, so they were probably ex-captive ones. But yeah, that's hard to prove. And the ones that we had, it was like Ateris squamigera, really beautiful snake. And the moment that the guy saw it, I was walking behind him, so I saw it too. And so it was actually found, and there was no chance that he could have put it there. But it was probably a snake that he used before, and he released in that area, so he knew it was still there. Maybe, yeah, you never know. Africa is different, and we went to Uganda, and Uganda is really a good place if you're a tourist. It's friendly, but things can go other ways too in Africa. Things can go wrong, and the value of a human life is not always a lot, as I found out when I was with my work in Chad. Crazy things happen there. So Africa, yeah, I still want to go to many places there, but when is the question?
So Uganda is one of those places where it's a big thing to see gorillas there, right?
Oh yeah, it is. But you don't want to know how much it costs. It's like $600 per person to be like half an hour with the gorilla family. Wow. It's crazy. Yeah, but we thought, hey, we're never going to be here again, so let's do it. But it's a big money machine. But it was kind of special to be there, and those gorillas are. Yeah, I almost shit myself twice because the big male made a charge at us, but he stopped like 2 meters from us, and the guides were jumping in front of us, and they hardly ever really charge. But then I was behind because I had to pee, so I waited till the group was a little bit farther, and I did my thing. But the young male, which was like 10, 11 years old, is like not even half the size of the big the big one. But he saw me, and he came running through the jungle, through the forest, and it was like 15 meters of run, and he stopped just 1 meter in front of me, and I was really like, oh, he has to prove himself, right? And so, but he stopped, and he looked at me for like 1 second, and he turned around and walked away. But then I had a heartbeat of like 360 beats a minute, I think. That was really scary.
That'll make you fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, since there's so many groups going out there and there's the incentive to take people out there, like, would they be habituated towards humans? Seems like there's, they're still pretty wild.
They are definitely wild, yeah, and they are probably used of the guides who keep track on them and who bring the people to them. So, but they just do whatever they want. If they want to do something, nobody's going to do anything about it. And there is one guy with a group then who has a rifle. Yeah. He's probably not fast enough, and I will doubt if he will shoot at an animal while an animal is grabbing a human, for example. I was not really. Let's see it. I don't think that all those guys were really skilled with arms. They're
Mm-hmm.
no.
Someone
Yeah,
else
you
told
might
us
as well. I
that.
don't think I want anyone taking a shot in between. If a gorilla's got me,
No,
he's probably gonna shoot you and the gorilla.
you will get shot, and not the gorilla, probably. Yeah.
I don't remember. Was it Theo? We had someone on the podcast who lives in South Africa, and I think it was him who was saying a lot of those people who are those guides, it might be like their first week, or like they do this like crash course in training, and then they let them be guides, and they don't really know, all the parts of the land and all the things that they.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I think the guides who were with the gorillas they were really skilled. They know a lot about the animals, so you can see they were skilled. They could sense the atmosphere in the group, and they said, "Oh, go back now because he's looking a bit angry." And they were right. They know what was going on. But the guys who were walking with us, who were the part of the nature protectors, the rangers, they were some were really incompetent, I think. But yeah, it's a big money machine. So.
And now, snake people, I gotta ask, Bitis, did you see any?
Snake people?
Yeah, no, like, were you able to see, I don't know if it's rhinoceros vipers that are down there, or...
Oh, yeah, we saw one.
Really?
Yeah, that was great. I think we spent the whole next day photographing it. We could not stop. And it's really a hard snake to photograph because of all the small scales, and it looks kind of rough, but it's actually all those scales are shiny, and it was hard taking a nice picture of those. Yeah, we saw the gaboon viper and the rhinoceros viper. We found a dead puff adder. Yeah, but I saw them in Morocco already, so I was happy, and I said it like 10 times to the guys who didn't see one. So. Just to take a piss out of them. And we saw like 3 Ateris species, like Ateris hispida, which I think is one of the coolest snakes on earth, with the really big spiny scales on the head. And we found a juvenile of Ateris nichai, which was almost totally black, really cool. For the rest, herping in Africa, if you do it alone, it's hard. We did find some cool stuff ourselves, like the Ateris hispidas and the Ateris nichai. But to know where you have to go, or you just have to be lucky. And but another cool
situation with those, as far as you didn't know whether they came from a bag the night before or whatever, with like gaboon and rhinoceros vipers.
The gaboon viper, it was like almost 1 meter 30, and it was like 10 kilograms, so he could not really hide it somewhere. So, and the rhinoceros was he kept saying, tonight we're gonna find it, and that was the only night we wanted to search with him. We did it all during the day, and during the night we had to pick him up at one of his houses because he had 2 wives and 3 families or stuff like that. And we picked him up at a local bar, and he was drunk. So we went into a little patch of forest, which was like 150 meters by 150 meters, and that's just the nature areas in Uganda. They're just small pockets of forest where the animals still live, and the rest is all cultivated. And we went in there and we walked around, and I walked somewhere else, and I heard him just talking really loud because he was drunk, and with his son was with him too. And then suddenly he was, "Yes, I am the best snake catcher ever!" And in half English, and he called us Muzungus, come have a look over here, which is like white man, come have a look over here. And then there was like 70 centimeter of rhinoceros viper. One of the most beautiful vipers I had ever seen. But he found it, and
while being drunk.
Yeah. While being drunk. So we are sure, or he could not have brought it because the other guys were walking behind him. We always kept an eye on him. So but we don't know if somebody else put it there, but that was a wild one for sure, I think. Yeah.
And I think that given those pieces of land are pretty small, if they're there, and you're going to have a chance to find one, right?
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, because also in that pocket we saw like Atheris hispida high up in the tree. It was 6 meters high. We didn't even we confirmed that it was the species, and we said, okay, we already found two in another forest, so let's keep it up there. And yeah. But the thing is, there you need a guy like that, because you cannot walk around alone in a forest like that, because all those farmers, they have a gun, and they see something with flashlights in the forest, and before you know it, you'll be running because they're trying to shoot you. Yeah. So you need people like that who help you there, and it's just a way of yeah. He's getting rich out of the herpers, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
For being in that country, he's earning a lot of money.
Enough to pay his bar tabs, at least. Before
Yeah, I think so. At least for that night, yeah.
So
I just noticed on the wall, is that one of your pictures behind you on the wall?
Oh yeah, it's actually. Let me have a see. It is one of my best finds ever.
Wow.
It's Pseudocerastus persicus, and it was in the United Arab Emirates, and we were looking for Aegis omanensis, which is like a saw-scaled viper that lives in that area. And we knew that it was possible to find this species, but most of the time in Oman and in the Emirates, they are found both like 1,000 meters and higher. And I was walking around in the wadi, really big wadi, and all of a sudden I heard next to me like there was a snake making noise, and I turned and I saw the light, and I was, oh, that's not a saw-scaled viper. And it was normally they're like really sand colored, only in Oman and here they're like darker. And it was, for me, it was one of the best finds I ever had, because I really am in love with those Pseudocerastus species, really crazy snakes. And of course, you all know the spider-tailed viper, which is like the latest found cousin of this one. But this one already was really really nice, for sure, and it was unexpected, and that's making an experience more good than if you know that you're looking for the saw-scaled viper and you find it. Then it's like, okay, we got it, let's go. And this is like, oh my god, this is a snake I never expected to find, and then you find it. That's pure luck.
yeah.
Is the taxonomy of vipers and everything, is that changing frequently? I know with some snakes we work with and stuff, it's like, oh, no, it's a subspecies. Oh, this is not a subspecies, and all that kind of stuff.
Especially when you find one in Uganda, then you find one in Morocco.
Right,
and
right.
Yeah, there's stuff all over the place.
Yeah, it does change, but not in African countries. It doesn't change that fast, because there are a lot of places where it's not really safe to do a lot of research. And but for example, in Europe, we have some we had some spreading of Vipera ursini in the recent years, which is now in Greece is now Vipera graeca, and then you have another reason to go back to Greece and look for that viper. So yeah, but it's it happens, but not as fast as with some amphibians in the tropics, I think.
And I can imagine that it's still, I mean, whether it's a new species or not, finding a carpet python in one side of Australia and then the opposite side of Australia, even if it's the same species or not, and they look different, I feel like it can be just as much of a prize for you to find, whether it's a full species or not.
Yeah. If you, I do like. There's one species. Of course, it's a viper again in France and Spain and Portugal, which is the Seoane viper, and it has like many morphs. So it has like many ways it can look, and all those different patterns they have, and it's really nice to find. In 2017, I spent a summer traveling around there and finding as much variation as possible, and that's really rewarding. It's not just seeing the species, but seeing like many different morphs of it is, for me, it's a big reward. Yeah.
I know you don't keep any snakes, but have you been to anyone's collection of vipers or anything like that? Have you seen any captive collections that have really amazed you?
No, not really. I did see some snakes at people's homes, but it's just rarely. I didn't see a lot of those now.
And have you found anything in the wild that would say be like a mutation that people would freak out about?
Yeah, I did have some. I found in Spain once a viper that was recently shed. It was light blue, and it was really light blue, and that was really special. But I think it was also not really healthy, so I let it go quickly. But I do get some talks from people of which I know that they keep snakes, and they're like, "Oh man, if you could ever bring one of those home." And I said, "Oh no, maybe tomorrow, not today." Yeah.
And is there any species that you would love to find that you haven't been able to find, or maybe would be very hard to go find?
Oh, I don't think 2 hours is enough now. If you want to go that direction, there are still many, like the Mangsen viper, the Chinese one, the big green one. But it's so hard to find. Let's wait until some people go there and find it, and then we can borrow their information. And there are on Borneo. It's like the Malkomi viper. It's really high altitude species. It looks ridiculously crazy, and there are so many snakes. Yeah, countless. For me, it's always I don't have really a list of things I want to see. I just adjust my list to the opportunity I get next trip. And for now, I don't even have anything planned for the future yet. So I'm not going to make myself crazy on all the animals that are impossible to see within the next couple of years. So I just concentrate on the places I go, and then I make my new most wanted list. I think, that's how it works.
That makes sense.
If you can figure out how to find an Ethiopian mountain adder, I would love to be with you.
Yeah, that's
nice. That'd be nice.
I think one of my friends is he talked about going to Ethiopia. So if that would then that one would definitely be on the menu for trying to find it.
I know nothing about them. Were they very difficult to find?
I mean, I think they were only described in the late 90s or something, correct? Or even later?
I think they is that Atropos, or is there another one? I'm not sure which one it is exactly, but it's like a crazy it's like a little beetus. I'm not sure which one that you mean. I think we were thinking of the same one.
Let me get, because I thought it was a bitis, but let me see what the...
almost
bitis
all those.
Parviaceae.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, that's I think it's found more recently now, but that would be definitely something to try. But Ethiopia,
Wow, that's so bright. Sorry, we just looked at
it's a really beautiful country, and you have millions of really, really good people there. But there are also places that that things can happen to you easily in a country like that, I think. So you always have to be safe. Try to be safe there.
Or like I know so many people who are into African pythons or love Angolan pythons, and apparently they're just like landmines everywhere in Angola, so you can't just walk around.
Yeah, I would not like to walk around in an area with landmines. If you have like Southern Europe, the area of Croatia and Bosnia and that area. There are also a lot of landmines, and I only herp at places there where I really know for sure that there are not landmines, and because all the landmines are most of the time at strategic places, like in between mountains, the path that come over it, and those are also always the nice places to herp. So I always stay a big distance from places like that, because I can't help myself. I never walk on the trail. I always go next to it, and oh, there's a nice spot. Let's have a look there. And that's how you find animals, but that's how you probably lose a leg too in an area like that.
Yeah.
Or
And
worse.
were you able to herp at all in Chad?
No, not really. It was like being lucky and meeting with an animal just in front of you. I think my very first night in Chad, I walked around on the campsite, and it was like you had like the big water bags for having the water for showering and cooking and stuff like that. And on the sides there were, if you would lift up the corners, then there were lots of toads under it. And then we found a herald snake, which is like a really pretty cool snake. So that was the first snake we found, and later we were there for almost 6 months, and we found one more of those. So, and for the rest, I didn't see any snake. I did see tracks of a puff adder once when we were driving around. I knew for sure it was puff adder tracks crossing the road. But then I really would have liked to go outside and search, but that's not the thing you do then. And for the rest, it was just some lizards and a monitor there. The monitor we saw was like the first records of that species in Chad. So that's pretty cool. And then you hear that afterwards from really monitor-minded guys.
So you found
really cool.
a lot of firsts, or I feel like,
and I feel like we haven't been able to talk about like vranids that you found out.
See, we could talk for 4 hours of all.
Yeah, I guess it's possible. I was a little worried about that. What should I tell? I don't have much to tell. Yeah,
you have countless stories. Countless.
Yeah, true. But
one time we were in jail in Greece.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is a cool story, actually. Yeah.
My last question actually has nothing to do with snakes, but I usually ask this for people who traveled a lot, and especially because food is a big part of your travels. What is the weirdest thing you've ever eaten on your travels?
Wow. Let me think for a while. I don't know. I think we had in Morocco, we had a soup somewhere, and the soup was it tasted like you had nothing in your mouth, and it was a really weird experience. But I'm not sure. I don't think I ever eaten anything strange, or maybe I didn't know what it was. But I always I like surprises though. So when we go and eat somewhere and I don't know what is on the menu, I try to make it as clear as possible that surprise us with something you think is good, and so what you will eat then. I'm not sure, but
so no,
could be anything.
So no, like eating, fried basically. Intestines, or I don't know.
Oh, we didn't really go to Asia yet, so that might change everything.
Very true. Or I don't know.
And have you
animals? There's animals in other parts of the country that they eat that I like.
Maybe it's normalized to eat a dog, Once again, with Asia,
that'd be Asia. I don't know. I feel like someone told us small, like rat type thing. I don't know. Other little creatures that they eat.
Well, as long as they're tasteful,
you'll eat it.
Cares, yeah, I think so. Yeah, just you should eat with your mouth sometimes and not with your eyes. Then that's a big difference.
And have you ever gotten sick from eating or drinking in a foreign country?
Oh yeah. In Mexico, I had a bad night, and it was like tacos, but they were. I felt like my stomach was exploding, and the guys were saying, "You should go to bed, and we'll show you the snakes in the morning." And I said, "Oh, fuck off! Let me sit on the back seat." And when I say stop, you just have to stop as fast as possible, and then I'll do my thing. So. At one point I yelled stop, and I went puking for like 5 minutes, and all came out. And after that, it was like, "Hey, I'm good again. Let's find some more snakes." But for the rest, I I'm blessed with a stomach that is, it can take some things. I think I don't have that a lot. That I have problems with food, so
And you've never gotten
that's a good thing. Sorry.
No malaria, anything crazy? No
bilharzia
flies.
once, but they have a big pill for that, and it's all right. Yeah.
Nice. You came out relatively unscathed after all of this traveling.
Yeah. That's luck, I think, or maybe I don't know that I have malaria. Maybe it comes later.
So if someone wanted to get in contact with you, what's the best way they can reach you?
I think there's you can fill in the contact thing on my website, which is www.gertjanverspui.com.
We will put that down.
Actually, I know you wanted to ask me to pronounce my name because it was difficult for you guys, but that's it. So it's www.gertjanverspui.com.
You make it sound like one fluid word when we're
very happy with it.
Like I already told you, I'm used to that word for 43 years now. So yeah, it should be weird if I would have problems with it, right?
Very true. Yeah. It is your name.
Yeah.
You should know it.
Yeah. So that's a way if you want to get in contact with me, and I'm also on Instagram, and which is I think it's G.J. Verspui Wildlife. Shit, why don't I know that for sure? That's stupid. And I'm also on Facebook, so if people want to ask me something or anything, they're always welcome. And I like to talk about whatever I've been into, or maybe give advice, or maybe ask advice to other people. It's fun, but don't expect me to send around all kind of spots straight away. That's not how it works.
You gotta sweeten it a little bit. You gotta talk for a little bit before you share.
Maybe.
Even then, maybe. But you guys need to check out his Instagram. So many amazing pictures of animals, and the website has so many amazing stories of all your herping trips. So if you guys want to learn more about the species he's talking about, because he threw out a lot of Latin names that I don't even know the common names for, and I may have to go back and look for pictures of each trip just to find out
some of the Latin names and everything. But yeah, definitely check out his website. We will have it in the description. And if you guys want to get in contact with us, we are Port City Pythons on Instagram, Facebook, portcitypythons.com, and YouTube, obviously, if you're watching right now. But thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad we were able to fill 2 hours. And
thank you too. It was really a lot of fun talking to you guys. Really, I loved it.
Great. I'm so
awesome.
glad.
And we're so glad to have you and get a different perspective on everything. And herping is always a great topic to cover.
Yeah. We will see everyone next week. Yes, next
after
week,
Tinley Park.
Tuesday.
If you guys want to go visit us at Tinley, we will be there all weekend. Hit us up, Instagram, wherever you know where we are. Thank you guys so much.